Welcome to the Roy Morgan Weekly Update. Despite the heated political debate about Palestinian refugees, there's been little change in voting intention. The issues that people are really concerned about are closer to home, including cost of living, high inflation and interest rates, and of course mortgage stress. The latest Roy Morgan survey shows if a federal election were held now, the results would be too close to call, with the ALP on 50.5%, that's up just 0.5%, just ahead of the coalition on 49.5%, down 0.5% on a two-party preferred basis. Either major party, the ALP or the coalition, would require the support of minor parties and independents to form a minority government. This result once again highlights the importance of preference flows to determine the overall two-party preferred result. Government confidence, whether people think the country's going in the right direction or the wrong direction, was down slightly this week. 53.5% of Australians, a clear majority, say the country's going in the wrong direction, while only 30% say the country's heading in the right direction. This means Roy Morgan government confidence is well below the neutral level of 100, down 2 points to only 76.5. And consumer confidence was down. ANZ, Roy Morgan consumer confidence was down 0.9 points, nearly 1 point, to 83 this week. And driving this week's decrease was a pulling back in buying sentiment, which dropped to its lowest in a month. A large proportion, 49% of Australians, say now is a bad time to buy major household items. That's an increase of 2% this week. Only 20%, down 4%, say that now's a good time to buy. Looking longer term, consumer confidence has now spent a record 81 weeks, over 18 months below the level of 85. This week, inflation expectations dropped by 0.4 percentage points to only 4.7%. This is the lowest reading for 2.5 years, since January 2022. That was before the Russian invasion of the Ukraine that saw energy prices and inflation spiking higher. And this is the biggest weekly drop all year, and finally takes inflation expectations out of that narrow band in which the indicator had been tracking since late last year for more than 8 months. So the ANZ Roy Morgan inflation expectations indicator shows Australians expect annual inflation to be 4.7% per annum over the next 2 years. There are likely several reasons for this, and one of our favourite retail price indicators is, of course, the petrol price. And there's good news on that front. The average petrol prices fell to their lowest since July 2023, more than a year ago. Average prices were $1.82 per litre this week, down over 30 cents since late April, when they were at $2.12 a litre. Despite the fall, average retail petrol prices have now spent a record 58 weeks, more than 10 months, above $1.80 a litre. Finally, the latest Roy Morgan readership figures for the 12 months to June 2024, released yesterday, show that news matters. 97% of Australians, an estimated 21.7 million Australians, consume news in an average month, either in newspapers or digitally via online platforms or apps. The most widely read category of news remains the general news category, with a unique audience, or read by, 20.9 million Australians, equivalent to 93% of the population. Perhaps unsurprisingly, around 2/3 of Australians, 66%, or 14.8 million, turn to the property section, the second most popular overall. No surprise we're all worried about mortgage stress. In third place is sport, read by 12.3 million Australians, 55% of the population, and that's just ahead of lifestyle and health on 11.8 million readers, entertainment and culture on 11 million readers, and business and finance, read by 10.4 million Australians. The latest Roy Morgan figures on magazine readership, released today, show 15 million Australians read magazines, again in print or online, equivalent to 2/3 of all Australians. And an impressive 7 out of the 15 magazine categories have increased their readership year on year. For detailed information on the latest Roy Morgan readership figures for magazines and newspapers and the Think News Brands analysis, visit the Roy Morgan website. And that's a wrap. Thanks for your interest this week in Roy Morgan's latest results, and I'll be back next week to bring you the most up-to-date readings on consumer confidence, inflation expectations, mortgage stress, and voting intention in Australia. Thanks for listening.